Hi everyone. In this video, we'll understand one of the most common Java interview topics, serialization. We will see what it means, why do we use it, and we'll go through some tricky interview questions. Let's start with the basics. What is serialization? So serialization is the process of converting object state into the byte stream, basically turning it into the data that can be saved or sent. And deserialization is just the reverse, converting that byte stream back into the object. So we usually use that when we want to save object state or transfer it over the network. So you can think of serialization like packing your object into the box, and deserialization is unpacking it again later. Let's see benefits of serialization. Why do we use it? It helps us to keep the object's data safe, and even after program ends, we can store it for later. It also allows communication between two JVMs. Let's say two systems sharing the data over the network. They can share the data by serializing the data by converting it into the byte stream. It is also used in technologies like RMI, sockets, and even for deep cloning of object in a memory. Now there are two ways to serialize the object state. Two interfaces are there, like a serializable interface and externalizable interface. Serializable is marker interface, meaning it has no methods. Java handles everything for you. Another is externalizable. It gives more control. You can write your own write external and read external methods. You can add the custom logic for that. So if you want automatic serialization, use serializable interface. If you want custom logic or better performance, go for the externalizable. Next very important question is transient and static fields. So what is transient and when do we use that? So if a variable is transient, it's not serialized. That means Java keeps it when saving the object. Another is static field. That is also we use to avoid the serialization. They are not serialized because they belong to the class, not the object. So after deserialization, transient variables become default or null, while static ones keep their current class value. For example, you can make password transient, so it's never saved in a file. Next is what is serial version UID? It's basically a unique ID for your serializable class. It helps Java know that if the class version during the serialization and deserialization are same or not. If this ID changes, you'll get the invalid class exception. So it's better to declare it manually so that we can deserialize the same class with the help of serial version UID. Now let's say, what if class changes after serialization? If the serial version UID is the same, new fields just get default values and removed fields are ignored. But if UID changes, you get an invalid class exception. So the rule is keep the same UID if you make small changes to your class. Let's see parent-child relationship in the serialization. This one is about inheritance. If the parent class implements serializable interface, then the child automatically becomes serializable. But if only the child implements it, then the parents field are not serialized. In that case, you can reinitialize parent fields inside the child's constructor during the deserialization. Now let's see. What if we want to avoid the serialization in child class? Because if there is a parent class which is implementing the serializable interface and another is child which will inherit the serialization properties from parent by default. So if we don't want to serialize the fields in child class, in that case, how we can avoid that? So for that, we can override the methods like a write object and a read object to get the control of that. We can throw exception here, that is not serializable exception, so that the child class or fields will not be serialized. Next is, when do we get not serializable exception? So this is thrown mainly when non-serializable class is attempted to be serialized. So if the class is not implementing the serializable interface, and at the runtime during execution of this statement, like object output stream dot write object. So here the class is not implementing the serializable interface, so we can get above exception. So to fix that, either we need to mark the fields as a transient or implement the serializable interface in the class. So here are two examples of serialization and deserialization. So if there is a class which is implementing the serializable interface, two fields are there, ID and name. So if you want to serialize the object state, that is ID and name, in that case we can go with the class object output stream. We can use a write object method. That the reverse processing, if we want to use deserialization, converting the byte stream into the object again, in that case we can go for object input stream, and we can use read object to get the object back. So to revise the benefit or use of serialization, when you want to persist the object state temporary for caching, session management, and file storage, or when transferring the objects across the JVMs or networks. In that case, we can use the serialization. So here is a recap, like what we seen in this video. What is serialization and deserialization? What is transient and static field? Serial version UID. Why do we use that? What happens when class structure changes? Difference between that serializable and externalizable interface. How to skip the specific field. How to prevent parent-child serialization behavior when it's not serializable exception occurs. This is just to revise your concepts into perspective. If you find this explanation easy, don't forget to like, subscribe for more quick interview friendly concepts. Thank you so much for watching.